Welcome! You are listening to the Fibre Muse podcast, and here we talk about how conscious crafting and intentional creation can lead to transformational impact and dive into stories of how we can make a difference through the power of knitting. My name is Francoise of Araha Knits, and I'm joined by my co-hosts and best friends in the Fibre community, Chelsea of Knit Fitch and Claire of We Love Knitting. So pick up your knitting and join us for this week's episode so you'll feel inspired to transform your yarn into experiences and moments. Hello there, Fibre Muses, and welcome back to a new episode of the Fibre Muse podcast. This is your host, Francoise, aka Frenchie of Araha Knits, and today I am joined by my guest co-host, biz bestie, fibre entrepreneur extraordinaire, Chelsea of Knit Fitch. She is giggling over in a corner because she has herself on mute while I'm doing this intro, and so I can say anything that I want and watch her reaction. Nobody can hear her at all. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to unmute you, Chelsea. So, how is it going? It's been a while since we've talked. It's like almost a month since between, this episode and the last episode. So, hello. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Wow. Can you believe we're saying that? I don't think I even was allowed to, I wasn't letting go of 2017. I was like, oh, it's 2018. I totally skipped over a year, but not really. I don't know how to explain it. But do you know how you get to the end of the year and then it's the beginning of the year and you're just like, oh, okay, goodbye 2017. Hello 2018.
Yeah, that's kind of like how it was for me because for example, between 2015, 2016, 2017, during those years, I was like, it's a new year. I've got new goals to set. I've got, this new year to conquer. I'm so excited and feeling so invigorated. But this time I was just like, I don't have anything. I don't have any goals really for this year. It was January 2nd and I was like, what am I doing this year? What direction am I taking out of her knits? And I was like, I don't know. It was a very weird feeling.
I think we put so much pressure at the beginning of the year. Sometimes I like to wait a month or two and just settle in because everyone's like, I think Claire texted me. I'm going to talk about her while she's not here. She texted me. She's like, what are your resolutions for this year? On January 2nd. And I was like, I don't even know. Don't even ask me yet, Claire.
Yeah, my husband asked me that question. It's a discussion topic. But I really started thinking about it. I really don't know. And actually, for that really, I was quite in a weird, funky state at the first couple weeks of this year. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have any resolutions. Oh my gosh, I don't have any goals. Oh my gosh, I don't know what direction I'm going in. But you said we put so much pressure on ourselves for that. It's just like, what, I'm just going to go and just, if the inspiration comes back to me, then it comes back to me. It comes when it comes. It doesn't always have to be at the beginning of the year. It doesn't need to be some fancy, huge event to do something. Yeah.
No, and I think, because we're in the third week of the month and I'm finally back to work.
Same.
Back to knitting. Back to life.
Yeah, same.
It took me about 3 weeks.
Yeah, which was really weird because I was thinking I've had a vacation. I've been on vacation, in quotes, for about a month now. Now I should be ready to get back to work. And I was like, nope, I'm still not ready.
I know. I was so over the break, I did a lot of knitting. I did a lot of cross stitching too. Finish my Christmas cross stitching by Christmas, but that's all right. I'll have it done by next Christmas. Knock on wood.
Yep.
But, no, my son, I don't know what is wrong with me, but just side tangent, I have discovered the wonders of Lego.
Oh.
I totally built a whole Ghostbusters Ecto 1 car, and I built a helicopter. We went to Legoland, and I'm like, dude, I'm ready. I think I built those two, and I was like, I'm bored. I need something harder. And my husband started laughing. But yeah, so now I'm like, ooh, do I play with Lego or do I knit? This is kind of my rival situation over the holidays.
Yeah, for me it was, do I knit or do I spend countless hours on YouTube or listening to horror story podcasts?
I think that's what happens when you're in the knitting industry or the fiber industry, and it can be work as well as what you enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we're like, I need a hobby from my hobby.
Yeah, it's really, that distinction has been really important for me. And I definitely learned the importance of that over the break too. Just because I did no knitting at all while I was on vacation. Nothing at all, which was just the weirdest thing. And for a while, it was like, oh my gosh, I need to knit something. But I probably shouldn't, because I just need to take a break and step back from it and enjoy the other hobbies that I have in my life and stuff. But yeah.
But now we're back to reality. Back to the knit-ality.
I like that.
I tried to be punny. That didn't work.
Yep, back to the knitting. Yeah, but I'm very happy that my job involves knitting, because can't complain too much. I've been, spend half of my day working on new designs and stuff like that. So, can't complain too much all about that. But what other things did you do over the summer vacation? Because you're in Australia.
Oh, yeah, it's summer here. That's the other thing that's been weird. Seriously, for any of you out there that have children and summer break rolls around, it's a weird thing for me because it's January and it's summer break here in Australia.
Yeah.
And my kid's not in school. So trying to juggle everything and still have my child bugging me. I love him to death, but it's a constant, mommy, play with me, mommy, play with me, mommy, play with me. Whereas at school, they have someone to play with them all the time. And I love him to death, but that's been a struggle for me. And the mindset that it's summer when it's January. Seriously, all the Aussies right now are looking at me, listening. They're like, yes, what's weird about that? But it is weird. It's very weird. And so, and doing Christmas and New Year's when it's hot is always interesting as well.
Yeah, and it's just really funny because for those who don't know, I was born I'm from Australia. Whenever people ask me where are you from, that always sends me into a crisis, because I'm like, what do I answer? What is the answer you're actually really looking for? But I was born in Sydney, Australia, and I moved to the States when I was 6 years old because my dad got a job at Kodak in upper state New York and stuff like that. So for the first 6 years of my life, I experienced Christmas the Aussie way, and then switched over to, the Northern Hemisphere. So now whenever I, talk to my cousins who are all in Australia talking about the holidays and stuff like that, I'm just like, wait, I used to live that. That's what I grew up with. That was my normal until my parents, we all moved somewhere else. But yeah.
And it's really weird with the fiber industry too, because this is when everyone hunkers down and they're in their cozy, most of the world, we'll just say that most of the world hunkers down and starts knitting, and they get really into knitting, and everyone's making all these cozy blankets, and there's Vogue Knitting Live, and there's all this stuff going on right now. And I'm sitting here going, it's too hot to knit. I have the air conditioning on. It gets to the point, I think over the Christmas break, I was like, I want to knit. I want to do something cozy. So I would crank up the air conditioning just so I would freeze myself out. Just so I'm like, oh, I'm sitting here knitting and it's cold and it feels awesome.
Yeah, I remember when I came down to Melbourne for your live event, it was the end of November, and it was hot. Yeah, so hot. I was like, oh.
And rainy, hot and humid and rainy.
Yep, perfect combination. Yeah, but yeah, for me, for the holidays, on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and the day after Christmas, me and my husband, we took a trip up to Tokyo, and we went to Disneyland for Christmas. So,
and how was that? I'm very curious. As some of you guys may not know, I gave her that advice to do that. And now her face is telling me maybe that wasn't the greatest idea.
Because I told my husband, Chelsea gave me this great intel because she used to work at Disney. She did this. And then, so we go to Disney Christmas Day, Disney Sea, Christmas Day at 8:00 in the morning. And it was packed. It was crowded.
Wow.
Yeah. So we got into some of the rides, and then around noon we left and went for Tokyo. We're just like, okay, off to Tokyo we go. Too many people. So weird. I know. I was so bummed. I was like, no. Probably maybe when you went.
Maybe it's because you went to Disney Sea that day.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
Could have been.
That's really odd.
Years past. It might have been different now for some reason.
The other thing I was thinking about is that it was over a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's why it affected it, because it wasn't in the like middle of the work week.
Yeah, Christmas Day was Monday.
Yeah, so it's like at the end of a weekend.
Yeah.
Whereas like when Christmas is on like a Wednesday or a Thursday, Japan isn't as keen to be celebrating. They're working.
Yeah, so it was a little crowded. So we're just like, you know what? Well, it's okay. Well, we left the park, went to Tokyo, hung out with a friend, and we went to the movies and we saw It. The horror movie
on Christmas.
On Christmas. We celebrated Christmas by watching It. It was my second time for watching it, when my husband's and his friends' first time watching it. So it was very fun to watch them freak out during the movie, because I already knew
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Let's eat some children. That was what the movie was. That's not what we did. That's what the movie was about. And then the next day we went to Disneyland, and it was still pretty crowded, but we decided just to stay the entire time until we left. And, it was still a really good time. It's Disney.
Well, I'm sorry for my false information.
It wasn't false. It was just, it wasn't false information. You just, different variables and stuff like that. And, we're just like, you know what? We could complain about the crowds, or we could choose to, still enjoy our time there. It's Disney, okay?
It's an experience.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was so funny because currently in Osaka, it is really cold, super cold. Like when the wind hits you, like there's that under chill that's just like, why is it so cold in the world right now? Whereas Tokyo was not like that. That was nice. It was just like, it would be windy, but it was like, it's not cold. And then come back to Osaka and it's just like, what is with this deathly chill? I hate it.
That reminds me, I don't know if you saw her, but poor Ash Alberg on Instagram. Her heater went out and she has been like burying herself in all the knitwear. And I'm just watching it going, no.
Yeah.
But I'm also in the heat. But like that just reminds me that like I can picture you doing that as well. Just like piling on all the knits.
All the knits.
To stay warm.
All the heat tech. Thank you, Japan, for the heat tech. Yeah. But yeah, that's what we did for Christmas and for the holidays. No knitting. Getting away, like just, indulging myself. Like
maybe I went to the movies so much. The knitting podcast about not knitting.
Exactly. Yeah, I went to the movies. I saw The Last Jedi 6 times in theaters.
Nice.
I think that's like the record. And also movie theaters in Japan are not cheap. They're expensive, but I was just like,
they're not cheap here either.
Yeah.
They're like easily $20.
Yeah, for sure. Same.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was a good time. Love going to the movie theaters. Love going to the IMAX. So just spent all that time just being like, ha. But anyway, now let's move on to knitting related things.
In our knitting podcast? What?
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is like a novel idea. So, Chelsea, what projects have you been working on since getting back into the groove of things? Anything on your needles?
Well, as you know, I'm pregnant. And
are you? You are?
I am. If you missed that bulletin. But I have been like kind of wanting to baby knit, not baby, that sounded weird. I've been wanting to like knit all the baby things, but we don't find out if it's a boy or a girl or anything until next month. And yeah, so I just am kind of been holding off on finishing anything. As everyone has learned about me, I don't finish projects. But I did get kind of sidetracked this week. Claire, who again is not with us, she convinced me it's time to knit a sock. Well, socks. I've knit one sock before. I never finished the second.
What was that sock that you knit?
The one I tried to knit was the Rose City Rollers. Ones. It's a free pattern and it's a really good one. But I never finished the second sock. I don't even know if I got the first sock done. And it's been about like 3 or 4 years and I still haven't done the second sock. And so Claire is doing this. She just came out with her, if you guys don't know, she's the dyer behind We Love Knitting. And she just came out with her sock club. She's doing a sock club this year. And she's like, Chelsea, join my sock club. I'm like, okay, but I'm not going to knit socks. And lo and behold, this week I'm starting the simple sock pattern and following her tutorials. And I'm going to finish a sock. Socks. 2 socks.
Yes.
One pair. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. That's what I'm doing. But yeah.
Is it a
wish me luck?
Good luck. Is it a bottom up, top down? What's the construction of the sock?
Simple sock. I think. Hold on. I can tell you in like 2 seconds. Let's talk because I was also the designer for her pattern.
Oh, you did the graphic designer.
I did.
Nice.
So I like secretly got the pattern. But now I'm but I don't remember. I read it and okay, here. I can tell you right now as I keep everyone talking. We start with the cuff. So it's cuff down.
Nice. Okay.
Which I think the problem with me and my first sock, because I only did one, was I did toe up and I just got frustrated and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, there's 2 options. So I think that's my biggest like issue with knitting socks is there's too many options.
Uh-huh.
There's like, you can do cuff down, toe up, heel flap, short row heel, 2 lip kiss heel. Like there's just all these options, which for most people, I feel like process knitters would really enjoy that because they're like, oh, I can try something, a different way and technique to do this every time. Whereas I'm like, I'm totally a product knitter. I'm like, just get it done. So wish me luck. I'm going to do a pair of socks.
Yeah, I knit my first pair of socks last year, at the beginning of last year, and it was actually through Beth I think that's her designer name as well, Catalin. She did like a 5 day, I forget how many days it was, but she did a sock challenge. And I really liked it because first of all, it was like you're knitting this construction, this method, and that's just one of many ways to do it. But this is the way that we're doing it for this challenge. And so it just got me to sit down, not worry about like all these different styles and doing it. And it was a very like in-depth, like, laid out challenge as well. It's very in-depth, lots of tutorials, and she's a teacher, so she was just perfect for that, just teaching how to do all these different techniques and stuff like that. And also she has a really great voice when she's talking. It's just very soothing and relaxing. And it's like,
it's those Australian voices.
Yeah, and she was also very soft too. So it was also very, watching those videos was also just really nice. But I knit my first pair of socks, but I never really went back again to knit them again because I guess there was just, because for me, if I'm knitting something, I like to design something for it. I don't really like to knit other people's patterns. I'm always like designing new stuff. So I was just like, I don't know what I want to do for a sock design. I don't think I know enough about socks construction to give it a go. But I guess at the beginning of this year, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do it. Just do it. And I finished my first sock design. I actually just put them on the blocking. Nice. I want to call them mats, but on the blocking sock blockers, whatever, today. So yeah.
Nice.
So I'm showing them to Chelsea, but you can't see them right now. I might have some photos for the show notes so you can see them there. But I used one skein of the Australian wool store. When I went down to Melbourne, I got to meet for Chelsea's live event for her Fibre college live event where I did my first presentation on. I got to meet a lot of my quite a few of my students from Swatch Studio, and that was just really nice. I think there was like 3 or 4 of them there. And one of them, who owns the Australian wool store, she just gave me a whole bunch of yarn to play with. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And so this yarn that she gave me, it's like 80% merino, 20% cashmere in this beautiful purple color. All my students know what my favorite color is. And so when this design that I'm working on, for these socks and stuff, it's for the upcoming Mystic issue, which comes out in May. And I was like, you know what? I think it's high time I get a sock design on, in my repertoire.
Nice. Catherine's yarn is gorgeous.
Yes, and this was just really nice and just it's merino and cashmere, so already that's already just like a dream.
They're luxury socks.
Exactly. And so so with these socks, I know that they're not going to be the most ideal socks to put in shoes and stuff like that. So they're definitely designed to be like indoor socks to show off and parade around family members.
Lounge
and stuff.
Socks.
Yeah, because they have bobbles on them. So they're not ideal for wearing around in shoes because those bobbles will probably get in the way. But to show off and be like, look what I made.
They're Instagram worthy.
Exactly. I like that. Yeah. But yeah. Really happy with how these socks came out. Writing up the pattern is certainly going to be interesting since it's, brand new to me. But first go designing socks, I cannot complain at all. I mean, it features everything that I like. Lace, twisted stitches, and then bobbles for a bit of flair to it. So yeah, I'm very happy with how they came out. So hopefully I didn't knit them too big for myself, because I want to be able to wear them too. But they are blocking, and hopefully they'll be dry by the end of the day. And so that's that one design that I was working on and finished. And then there's another one I'm still working on. I talked about it in last week's episode, in my mini episode. But I'm still working on a crescent shawl design in Harney Hooley's Designs yarn. And I forgot what the base of the yarn was, but it's called Soft Minky Warm Minky. So it has mink in it with mink, cashmere merino, and viscose.
Oh yeah.
What is that? What is
it's
that?
Isn't it a synthetic fiber?
I guess that, it does sound like that.
I think it's a synthetic fiber or plant fiber. It's not animal fiber.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm playing those like 20 questions. Like, is it animal, mineral, plants?
Yeah, it's the first time working with mink, but it's absolutely lovely. No complaints about it. It has a really nice soft halo feel to it. It's very nice and springy, very soft. So.
I've worked with mink before.
Oh,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I did one of my first shawls I ever finished. I wouldn't say it was the first one I started, but it was the first one I finished. It was a pattern by Josh Ricks. It was from his Shakespeare collection. I don't remember which one it was. I think it was probably Romeo and Juliet, just because that's how I am. And it had to do with vines. But I used mink and yak in that shawl, because I, from the get-go of knitting, I am like so reckless when it comes to like combining yarns that I'm very like Stephen B in that way. I'm like, I'm just gonna put whatever together.
You're a true dreamer muse. You're the epitome of what a dreamer muse is.
I love to play with different fibers. I love it. And that one, the shawl turned out smaller because the mink was, I think, more of a light fingering instead of an actual fingering. But it was so much fun to work with. It's so soft.
Yes, it's so soft.
It is like the softest, and I feel like you think it would be fragile, but then it's not.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed that with it, but
the yarn weight for this yarn that I'm using is the lace 2-ply, so lace already feels kind of fragile, but yeah, it's holding up really well. But I think with the mink and the cashmere together, that's like a luxury paradise right there.
Yes. So. Yes. The only other type of fiber that I've ever worked with that's like, it was cashmere, merino, and camel. Yes. Cashmere, merino, and camel. And it wasn't an actual, like, I've been spinning it. Like, for the last 2 years, I've been drop spinning this like fiber, because I have like 2 huge bags of it, and it's purple. But that was like the only like big, like, I feel like camel is one of those really luxury fibers too. Sorry, we went on a tangent about luxury fibers.
But what would you consider to be luxury fibers? Mink, camel, cashmere,
Kivet.
What is that? Oh, is that like a little bunny?
No,
sorry.
Is it a bunny? I don't know. Like,
is it a type of rabbit?
Like Quivet? I want to say it's like, it's either a rabbit or like a buffalo.
It's like that was completely
no, I know, like totally 2 different
Is it a
sizes.
rabbit or is it a buffalo?
Kivet is I want to say buffalo. It is like the most expensive fiber you can get. Kivet. It's the raw clean Kivet is spun. What is it from?
They don't have a picture of it.
Ox, a musk ox. Yeah, so buffalo. I had the same idea. Yeah, it's like the undercoat of an ox.
Wow, that's cool.
And it's super expensive.
Yeah.
I've seen it in stores like in Portland at the yarn shops, and it's just like behind a glass case and you can't even like touch it. It's like super expensive. I'm like, really? It's yarn.
Oh, here's another luxury yarn that's legit luxury. Silver. Like Tiffany and Co. Like they had that silver yarn ball. Did you ever see that? Like for $9,000. There we go. That's luxury right there.
There you go. Like we can't beat that now. So there you go.
how would you knit in pure silver? Is that just meant to be decorative, or?
I'm pretty sure it was just decorative because it's not soft.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's pure actual like silver.
Guess you could do like a silver bracelet, knitted bracelet.
Now that I'm just with silver. I just feel like they're just showing off. I'm so wealthy.
They're just mocking all the actual knitters out there.
Yeah,
and yarn enthusiasts.
Yeah, but there are some yarns that I've worked with that have silver in the yarn, like Feel Good Yarn Company. No, was that them? Yeah, Feel Good.
Silver Spun.
Silver Spun. Yeah, that's the name. It's the same. That's the same company. Silver Spun. Yeah, for sure. Love their yarns. Yes, and the CEO of that company has the same birthday as I do.
Nice.
Yeah. That was a fun little thing. I released a pattern that I made in their yarn on my birthday. And I was like, it's my birthday today. I'm releasing this pattern. And like, oh my gosh, it's my birthday too. And then we had like a little yay over email. That was it. But moving on. So we're talking about our projects and all these other things. So the topic that I want to discuss with you today, Chelsea. And this happened over Christmas break, the holiday break.
Yeah,
I don't want to say the winter break because it's not winter for you.
the December break.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like around the 26th?
Yeah, definitely around the 26th or something like that. And the only reason why I knew of it because I was on Twitter and all the knitters who are active on Twitter, they help me keep up to date of what's going on in the knitting world. So that's what
Twitter's good for the knitting industry is for news.
Yeah, so that's where I get all my topics from. But from what I am able to understand, so Vanity Fair, they released it was a video or article or something like that talking about like New Year's resolutions that Hillary Clinton should take up in 2018. And so they had all these ones. And the ones that, of course, knitters took issue with, or, they were like, let's have a discussion about this, was Hillary Clinton should take up knitting. And not in like, it was most like implied to be like, she should just be quiet and take up a dainty little craft and to be quiet and be a good little old lady and to shut up and stay out of politics, things like that. And my Twitter just completely exploded on that. And it was a lot of really interesting conversations. Like there was one Twitter thread that I was following that was talking about like the history of knitting and things like that. That was really interesting. And also people talking about, again, the stereotypes and implications telling a woman to knit, and also talking about how knitting played a really huge role in 2017, especially like in the political sphere, with the kitty cat hats at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I didn't get around to doing this, but I was just really curious to see if Vanity Fair wrote any articles about that, and just to, compare and contrast, be like, at the beginning of the year, you guys wrote a top, about and then at the end of the year, like, doing kind of like having the opposite message for that, but, So Chelsea,
I'm taking a quick gander real quick because that's just interesting.
But
Vogue talked about it.
Yeah. But, again, this is kind of like the whole reason for starting up this podcast. Like if you listen to the intro, talking about how, I want to say combating because combating sounds very, it's very like, fighting, but, to challenge these stereotypes and to challenge society's current perception of what knitting is, and be like, actually knitting plays, it's a very powerful medium for transformations and to make an impact. Again, as we saw at the beginning of 2017, whether or not you agree with the movement or not, you cannot deny that knitting played a huge part in that and definitely had a huge impact on that. And it was just also really funny for like these politicians and like in the Senate and the Congress and stuff like that, they were like, where did they get all these hats from? Where did they come in from? China or overseas? And it was like, no, this was all handmade. This was like 100% American made,
yes,
from our labors. And we have, Ravelry, we have our own forum and places to hide out on the internet to gather and recruit and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just, it's just I wasn't angry when they said that. I was just more like annoyed. I was like, again, like we're still on this like perception, but then I realized that as knitters, the way that we relate to knit is very much different from non-knitters and the way they perceive us because they're still behind. So I'm just like, ugh.
And I wonder if we like, it's so interesting because I see many ads of like, it's always the grandma knitting. There's always the stereotypes of knitters, right? From non-knitters. And we see them on TV and stuff. This is just a weird question I have. Like, we see them on TV, we see them all the time, and we've kind of become like callous or numb to it in a way because we don't get upset about every little stereotype. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But yet when this happens, it's like, oh, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wonder, like, what does it really take to get us riled up as a community? That's my really question when it comes to stereotypes. Because I don't know, because like I was saying to you earlier about this, Frenchie, like people were upset that they were kind of stereotyping, like, oh, you're an old lady, go knit, you know, that stereotypic of women and what women do. But nobody's addressing like the fact that not all knitters are women. There's quite a bit of men out there that are like coming out and can knit really well. There's celebrity men that can knit. Like they knit, like Ryan Gosling knits. Like,
yes, he does.
Him and there's some other, I'm trying to remember who they are, but there's some older male celebrities that knit as well. And I'm not just saying that just male celebrities knit, but do you know what I mean? Where it's like there was a whole nother take on this that got missed as well.
Yeah, like this is also something that I see a lot happening. Like when women knit, it's considered like domestic, you know, something that women should be doing. It's, you know, a quaint little thing, doesn't really have much importance. But when men do it, it's like, ooh, a man is knitting. And like he's taking this craft and elevated to artisan status because he's a man. Like, you know, we hear like we're like cooking and things like that. You know, women cook all the time, but when you have a male chef, he's an artiste. You know, he's elevating the craft. That's the way that I see it. You know, and when someone, but like, you know, but not because like many of the male knitwear designers they're wonderful people. So I'm not saying that they do this, but usually again it's more about the perception and stuff and.
Stereotypes. We keep getting stuck in stereotypes.
Yeah. Because they're really wonderful people and they are contributing a lot to the craft and stuff like that. But it's just, again, the perception from the outside, like when a man does it, like, you know, we see all these articles like in Vogue or, you know, the New York, I don't know what platform it was, but talking about this male knitter who I think he's also a designer, but he sells his handmade knits and it's just like, ooh, fancy. He's a artiste and things like that, you know, whereas, you know, when we've been doing this for a really long time and we're also growing our own businesses, but for us it's more like, oh, cute little Etsy store stuff, you know, hobby business. And of course there's always, you know, because since you're a coach in the knitwear and in the fiber industry, you know, we have our own conversations about learning to value ourselves and, you know, being, you know, elevating ourselves to become like, you know, become the CEOs of our own business. But it doesn't help when the outside too is also views us as that as well. So we're both fighting our own internal perceptions versus the external and things like that. So I know.
I know. Well, I get what you're saying. And I think that a lot of it, we have to remember the history behind a lot of it because knitting from a very like historical time was that crocheting was like for the artistes, right? Like crocheting was for the aristocrat. It was like not cat. Wow, I have Disney on the brain. Aristocrats, where it was you crocheted these little doilies, like that's what it was. And knitting was like for the peasants. That was for utilitarian. Knitting was utilitarian. Crochet was art, like artsy, you know what I mean? And so, and then you go even like sooner in history, not as far back, but people like women had to take over the workforce during the war, right? And so it was knit for the soldiers, right? That's what it is. So we have these perceptions that we've grown up, like the world as human beings have grown up with. And so it's so interesting when people get all upset, but they're saying it in a derogatory way, but it's all based on what we've grown up as, right? So it's that question of how can we change perceptions? And like I said, when are we callous to it? When are we not? I think are just questions we got to figure out as fiber artists.
Yeah. For me, I don't get ups or like, riled up whenever like there's an advertisement and it shows like an old lady knitting and stuff like that, because if I got upset about that, it's like implying that, I mean,
that it's not true, but it is.
Yeah, but it's also like, like respecting our elders. Like we learned to knit because of them. Without their knowledge and them passing it down to us, we would not be able to knit. So, I don't get upset about that because that's who we learned it from and stuff like that. Even though I learned it from my mother, I'm talking about like in general, mostly from the stories that I hear about how people got into knit through their grandmothers and stuff like that. So I don't get annoyed at that. In fact, I think it's, beautiful, sharing those stories and things like that. It's just when they imply you should knit so that way you can just be quiet and sit in your corner and
quiet.
When basically that's, when you say take up knitting to be quiet, that's when I take more of an issue with, saying that.
And
you can't make noise with knitting.
Right. I mean, you can clickety clack, but and I find that very interesting because like if you even go back to what I was saying about history, the women who knit and the time that we knit was an empowering time, like when it was like in the masses. Do you know what I mean? Like they were doing it to help the soldiers. They were empowered and by helping they and so it was never like, I don't think it's ever been a silent activity. I mean, look at knitting groups, look at crafting groups, quilt circles, any craft with women, it's never a silent thing. And what I learned about like with my grandmother is that her crafting and her knitting and she was a quilter, like that was her way of having a voice. So when I actually, like, now that I think about it, I kind of want to laugh that that's what they're saying. Cause I'm like, really? Cause that's how a lot of women for many years, that's how they had a voice.
Yeah.
It's not that they didn't have a voice before. It's just, that's how they expressed it before. More so than now.
Yeah. And also the implication that if you're not doing something that's like changing the world and things like that, then it's not a worthy task. That I also kind of take.
But they are.
Yeah.
They're just doing it in a different way.
Yeah. But even if they were just doing it for themselves or just helping their families, I still think that's still important. Like,
I know. It just reminds me of that hashtag during the am I allowed to say the project, the Pink Hat Project? Should I just say that?
If you, warning.
I think I already said it earlier, but sorry, everyone. But it just reminds me of the hashtag that was going around during that time. It was hashtag nasty women knit.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. We just bring that back.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually really liked that hashtag a lot. But yeah, Joe, that, even knitters can be rebellious and things like that, as we see.
See, now all we need is just Hillary Clinton to be like up there giving a speech and knitting. Like, I think if we saw her doing that, that would be like such a statement. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay, I'll knit. I'll do these things you told me to do, but I'm still going to be who I am and it's not going to shut me up.
Yeah. Yeah, so many interesting conversations. Also different takes on it as well. Just really an interesting topic. I think I had some more thoughts about it, but they're not coming to my mind right now because you said so many great things.
Sorry, it was so funny for anyone who's listening. I was like, Frenchie, I'm not sure what I have to say about this. And I apparently had a lot to say. I apologize for being so vocal.
I guess I was kind of going off a tangent of what you're saying. Like our perception is kind of like based on how we grew up. Like maybe if you grew up during like the war and you saw people knitting to help their country, your perception of knitting was very much different. Whereas now, like in the 80s and 90s, especially with like, everything being machine made and things like that, knitting didn't really serve a purpose except from like a hobby or, a craft thing and stuff like that. Because, you could just go to the store and buy a scarf. Like, why would you spend $120 on yarn and all that, that time to knit the scarf when you could just buy it in the store for $3 and things like that, And
I think it's also a cultural perspective too. Like, it's just an ignorance, just to be quite frank about it. Because, like, if you look at countries like Russia or Norway or France or like countries with the people up in the mountains, like even in South America, like they knit because they know the quality of it. Like they know that it's going to last longer. It's part of their culture. I mean, there's Shetland lace. Like there's all these things that I think specifically America, because it's such a younger country.
Yeah.
Because it's a very young country.
Yeah, compared to like Europe.
The world. And because of that, I think they just don't have the respect that as many of other countries would. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't think anyone in a European country would have said that to Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean? Because it's just a cultural ignorance, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, because Vanity Fair is an American publication. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
And I looked it up. They did not say anything about the Pink Hat Project either. It was not Vanity Fair didn't say anything about it.
What does Vanity Fair focus on?
I'm not sure. Vanity Fair is I'm trying to remember what it's like. Let's just look real quick.
Because that's really interesting.
Popular culture, fashion, and current affairs by Condé Nast in the United States.
And they didn't write about the Pink Hat Project. Huh.
No, and it was first published from 1913 to 1936, and then they started reprinting it again around the 80s.
Well, maybe I'll do some poking around and see maybe they did write something, but the fact that you couldn't find anything easily.
On the first two or three pages of Google, nothing from them. There's stuff from Vogue, there's stuff from Refinery 29, things like that, but nothing from them.
Interesting.
They're just, dare I say, maybe they're just knitting.
Anti-knitters.
Anti-knitters. They're prejudiced against knitters. I said it. I'm going to get in trouble. They're going to flag us. We're never going to be on Vanity Fair's magazine.
Never. It's okay. Vogue is where it's at. I mean, they got Vogue Knitting Live and stuff like that, and Vogue Knitting. So, maybe Vogue's the cool people. Anyway, I think that wraps up our thoughts for this week's topic. And I posted a blog post. I did a blog post about this the other week, and I got a few interesting, nice comments. I want to say nice. I said thoughtful and insightful comments about the topic. So I'll link to that blog post in the show notes about my written response.
Answer. Yes, and please, if you've listened to this and you haven't seen the blog post, go over there and comment about your thoughts too, because I think it would be nice to get a bigger conversation going.
Yeah, we could, I'll maybe for the next episode, depending on how many responses we get, and we can touch upon that and the responses for that, because you want to get more voices heard on this podcast. It's not just us two or three when Claire's on. It's meant to be a larger conversation. But anyway,
don't let the anti-knitters silence your voice.
Yeah, exactly. So that is it for this week's episode. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for taking the time to join me. Claire, obviously Claire couldn't join us this week. She had something that had to take priority this week. So hopefully she'll be back for the next episode. But before we close out, where can people find you, Chelsea, online?
Hi, everyone. You can find me on Instagram at KnitFitch. And then if you are in the fiber industry, you can always find me on Facebook in the Facebook group of Fiber Boss Collective. So if you're in the industry, come see me over there. If you are but if you're not in the industry and you're a yarn enthusiast, go find me on Instagram.
Yeah, and people can find me on Instagram and on Facebook at Adaha Knits, and feel free to join us in the Facebook group, the Fibre Muse Circle. And I think, let's see, currently on the blog, when this episode goes out, I've got a special giveaway for an upcoming pattern that's being released next Friday. So you can head over to the blog to learn how you can win a kit, which is the pattern plus the yarn for the project. And I think, don't hold me to this, it's kind of funny, I'm thinking about announcing this, but I'm not sure if I'm 100% solidified on this idea, but I have a feeling that the 5 shawls, 5 days challenge might be running up again at the end of the month. It's been a while since I've done that challenge, and I think it's high time to bring that up, to bring that back for the new year. So if I do decide to bring it back and start promoting it, you will find that link to join us for that challenge. If you haven't joined us for the 5 shawls, 5 day challenge, it's just basically over the course of 5 days, you'll be knitting up a small shawl swatch or prototype of a different shawl shape, just to learn the construction of how a shawl is formed. If you've never knit a shawl before, but you're like, oh, I do want to knit a triangular shawl, but I always mess it up, or I don't know how it works. This is a really good challenge to dip your feet into, just to get a feel for how these shawls grow. And especially, so it's good for both beginner knitters or people who want to get into shawl knitting, but also good for shawl designers. Because I think one of the, sometimes when we knit our patterns, we just follow the instructions, don't really think about how it comes together. And so this shawl challenge really, I want to say forces you, but it really makes you think about okay, when I work these increases over a series of times, over this many rows, this shape happens. And so what can I do with that and stuff like that? So it's just really fun little challenge, and you get a whole bunch of little mini shawls at the end to decorate your dolls. I think this would be the 5th or 6th time I've run this challenge, and always love seeing the little shawls that people show me. They take photos that they hang them up in their office, or they use it to decorate their dolls and things like that. My friend who lives in Osaka and who owns a yarn shop here, I go to a shop and I see my little shawls just hanging around the place, little decorative items. So yeah, so now that I'm getting excited and into it, I guess I'm going to be running it again at the end of the month. So it's a 5-day challenge, totally free, 100% free. Things like that. And yes, always a lot of fun excitement around that. So you can find the sign up link for that in the show notes. And with that, that is the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please send your stories and your comments. You can leave them in the comments for the show notes, or you can send them an email to hello@atahaknits.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys and your thoughts and things like that. And so with that, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Fibre Muse podcast. If you would like to contribute your story to the show, just send an email to hello@atahaknits.com, and you might just hear it on the air. If you enjoyed the show, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes or on YouTube. Really appreciate it. Until next time, continue transforming your yarn. Bye.